Hello.
And welcome back
To
Sick.
see you
Next.
Tuesday.
And today is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
But it's the Tuesday before a very important event.
Yes, it is, in fact. And that is the U.S. Father's
The
Day.
American Father's Day, without which Ben wouldn't be here. I'd be perfectly fine. But
Yes.
Ben would be a goner.
And so, I don't know if the video viewers can tell.
But I'm not alone.
Annabel is not alone.
I've got a friend in frame.
I'm trying to keep a low profile.
Yeah, you've been silent. I thought you just, weren't familiar with the pod and didn't know the names, so didn't want to join in during the intro.
I was thinking of joining in, but I might do it on the outro.
Sick.
Okay.
See you next Tuesday.
There we go. That's a rehearsal.
But why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
I'm Annabel's dad. My name is Alistair.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I'm 2024 is a red letter year because I'm having 2 Father's Days, so that's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Yes.
I don't have 2 gifts. I'm
I've
so
actually forgotten
sorry.
when the Australian one is. Is it September?
September?
Yeah, September.
Yeah.
So
But we're
June
just
and
getting it
September.
early.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're celebrating twice this year.
Whoa.
Very happy
I
with
need
that.
Keith to celebrate in September as well.
Yeah, we'll see about
and
that.
I'm looking forward to my present too.
Absolutely forthcoming. In 5 months.
At the
In September. Thanks,
Yeah.
darling. That's great.
Hold on tight.
But it is Father's Day. Annabelle is in Australia.
I am currently in Australia right now. I'm in Stanmore for the Sydney fans.
And we are joined here with her father today
That's
to
so
talk
true.
about his favorite movie.
His favorite movie. Now, Alistair, father, what is your favorite film?
Well, it's a very difficult question, and I think my answer would vary depending on when it's asked. When I was asked this question, I came up with the movie which we're going to be discussing today, but it could quite easily have been any one of a number of other, perhaps 12, perhaps 20 other movies.
I got it. You're a film guy.
But, well, maybe not as much as you guys, but I've been known to watch the odd movie.
Yeah.
But at the time I was asked, I did think of Withnail and I, which is a British movie from 1986, I think.
7.
7, there you go.
Close.
Okay,
Close. Yeah. Almost there. Yeah, and why would you say it's your favorite movie?
Well, as I said, it's not necessarily my favourite, but why did
okay.
I... Well, look, it's got a certain quirky, tragic, comedic element which has stuck with me over the years, and it's helmed by fantastic performance from Richard E. Grant in what was his first movie.
It is. That's crazy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it has a number of iconic lines in it. In fact, when we were watching it again last night, I found myself laughing all over again at many of them.
Oh, I noticed.
Such as a pig shat in my head, for example. Yeah, so it's. I was about to say it's a charming movie. Maybe it's not so much charming, but it's a classic indie film from the 80s, which has stood up, I think, on the whole, over the years, apart from perhaps some of its values.
Yeah, it might be a little bit problematic. But you know what? What is it?
It was 1987.
I'm a little bit problematic. Every
isn't?
single week. Who isn't?
But I won't lie, I had never heard of this movie.
I'd also never heard of this
prior
movie,
to-
which is why I struggled to believe it was your favorite film, because why was it never mentioned in my 25 years of life as your daughter?
It's a cult movie, certainly.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
I learned that. I did have to ask Annabelle every day. I'm like, wait, what's it called again? I keep forgetting.
And the first time you asked, I was like, I don't know, I've never heard of it. I know it's got Richard E. Grant, and that's all I can tell you.
Yeah, but after some digging, and we found out that it was his first movie, and so Annabelle watched it twice.
I did watch it twice on the same day. Happy Pride. First day of Pride Month, Withnail and I, back to back.
Yeah, but before we get into sort of like the aspects of the film, do you want to maybe give us a little rundown of what this movie's about?
Yeah, Alistair, you go.
Yeah, sure. It's set in 1969, in the last days of the 1960s.
Which I did not realise until the second watch.
Which is actually kind of significant, so that went straight over your head.
No idea.
But it's about 2 struggling actors who are unemployed, living in squalor in Camden Town, I think. one of them, Withnail, is a absolutely confirmed alcoholic. The other one, the character known as I, is or is trying to get ahead in the industry, but also falls into equally bad habits, but because he's in the company of Withnail. Anyway, their squalid lifestyle starts to close in on them a bit, and they have an idea that it would be much better to get away to the country to get some fresh air and get away from it all. And it turns out that Withnail has a fairly rich uncle, I think. In fact, it's
quite wealthy.
It's never actually explicit in the film, but I think Withnail comes from quite a wealthy family. And Uncle Monty, who's a relative, has a house in the country.
Yeah.
Which I'm surmising might be in the Lakes District, but I'm not certain about that. And so they, the two of them go over to have drinks with Uncle Monty, who, in amongst scolding his cat and talking about his love for vegetables, hands over the keys to his country house, and off they head in a derelict Jaguar.
What?
That's the vehicle.
Oh.
It's a Jag.
I thought they were adjectives. What are you talking about? Okay.
In a derelict vehicle, and head along the motorway and find themselves in teeming rain in the middle of nowhere. They eventually locate the house, and then hijinks ensue. I could go on. I mean, I know there aren't spoilers in this, so...
Oh, yeah, there are.
There are spoilers.
Spoil away. It's from
No,
1987.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
sorry,
yes,
that's what I meant.
Oh, like you can't...
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free.
Spoil away.
So they experience various travails in the country.
A horny homosexual.
Well, yeah, the horny homosexual comes into it, but before that they struggle to find food, interact with some of the locals, interact with a farmer, have a bit of a run-in with a horny bull.
So true.
And go to the local pub.
A lot.
Yeah.
Couple of local pubs.
Meet the local poacher. Get rat-assed on a couple of occasions. Upset some of the locals. Then there's the interaction with the homosexual who comes to visit, who is actually...
Not the homosexual.
Well, that's what you said before.
I know.
Uncle Monty comes to visit.
I didn't know I was setting a precedent.
Uncle Monty comes to visit. There's more drinks. There's uncomfortable moments. Then Uncle Monty heads home in perhaps shame after his advances were rejected by
Yeah, after his attempted sexual assault. I always had home in shame after that.
And they eventually went their way back to London. Withnail is arrested for drink driving, tries to get out of it because he's accumulated a container
Children's
full
piss.
of unadulterated child's piss.
Yeah.
So he insists on taking a urine test, but gets caught by the local police, presumably charged. They end up back in their squalid flat in Camden Town, only to find that the local drug dealer and his mate, presuming Ed, had moved in. The local drug dealer, whose name is Danny, I think.
Couldn't tell you.
I think it's
That's
Danny.
correct.
Oh, yeah.
Who speaks like this.
All right.
Holds forth in a bit of a monologue towards the end of the film about the end of the 60s and how society's changing, and also has interesting theories about hair and how they pick up the vibrations from the universe. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I gets a lead role in a production up in Manchester, I think.
Sure.
Heads off and leaves Withnail to his drunken self, quoting a soliloquy from Hamlet in the local park.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
At the end of the movie. You didn't know that was from Hamlet?
No,
What
but we
is a man?
when we were watching it, I was like, we were like, this is Shakespearean. This is
So poetic.
profound.
Yeah. And so Withnail quite aptly quotes Shakespeare because he's a hack.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, his Uncle Monty actually wants him to play the Dane. And perhaps that's why he quotes Hamlet at the end, I'm not quite sure.
That's nice.
So that's pretty much a rundown of the movie, but it doesn't capture the fact that it's tremendously funny in many parts, and certainly has a particular feel about it, which I can't think of any other movie which has quite the same kind of impact as Withnail and I.
And it's funny because you laid out the plot perfectly and you said everything that happens, and it doesn't really sound like it's a comedy.
No, not at all.
when you say what happens, but it is a comedy.
It is a comedy.
the most British way ever, I think.
Very true. It's very like English humor, dark comedy, bleak late 60s vibes. Yeah. And also, you and Donna have one thing, well, a few things in common. I'm one of them.
Yeah, one of them actually.
Yeah, but one big one is you love to give a detailed plot rundown.
Oh, well.
No, that was such a good plot rundown. Do not. That was really good because that was perfect.
No, it was. It was a blow by blow of the film.
But no, I thought, and on top of Richard E. Grant in this movie is also Richard Griffiths.
Yes.
Yes.
As the uncle.
Uncle. He loves to play an uncle.
I was gonna say everybody would know probably, except for me.
Except for
as
Ben. Vernon Dursley.
Caretaker in Harry Potter.
Yes.
Harry Potter.
Yes, who shoves him in the closet.
Yes, he's terrific as Uncle Monty. He's also had a long career in British television. He's no longer with us, Richard Griffiths.
Yeah.
But he had late in his career, he had a huge hit in Britain in a show called Pie in the Sky, which was about a fellow who was a chef and a detective, apparently.
I feel like...
Yeah, you might have seen that.
It sounds amazing.
I've seen 1 or 2 episodes. It's actually kind of interesting. But yeah, Richard Griffiths absolutely rules in this movie. He's
I would also
fantastic as
just
Uncle
like
Monty.
to say that when we were watching it, Ben was looking up the cast. And the second that Danny, the drug dealer, came on screen, Ben said, "That's Mr. Dursley from Harry Potter." And I said, "That's what he looked like when he was younger. What the hell happened
Not
to the
so
man?
much.
What happened to the man?" And I was so scared for
I
him.
had misclicked on the cast and I clicked on the wrong character when I was doing that.
That Richard Griffiths transforms.
That was not
He's
Richard
in range.
Griffiths.
An actor.
I don't even know who was playing Danny. I don't know the.
Neither.
I don't know
actor.
that actor either. He is tremendously funny in it. But yeah, I can't
gonna
remember
say,
seeing that film.
Honestly, cast kills.
They were all phenomenal, actually.
Yeah.
In their respective roles.
I agree.
I was a little hesitant at first on Richard E. Grant's performance.
I agree.
I won't lie.
I agree, but upon a second watch in the same 24-hour period, I was like, you know what? I think I just needed to get used to the vibe of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like his character. I needed to
It
get
does take some getting used to.
Agreed.
I also think that the first like third of the film is so disconnected from the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like it really picks up once they go to
the accidental
uncle's
holiday.
house, even
Yeah.
like when they
Oh,
go
true,
on the
yeah.
accidental holiday. But it's like the first bit of them setting everything up. Really, I was like, where are we going? What's happening? What is going on?
100%. I was like, what is this movie about? I had no idea at the beginning.
But once it all really started happening, I was like, this is so much fun.
It is. I also think that because, like, obviously they're living in squalor, they're messy, that they set up that vibe really well, and it felt really claustrophobic, and I felt like I was in that environment, so I wasn't loving it on first watch because I felt like I was there.
Yeah.
Because it was, like, visceral. But that's, kudos to them. I just didn't have a good time experiencing it. At first.
That's valid.
So when they got out of the apartment, I was like, all right, I can breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first note was that their apartment reminds me of Annabelle's.
I've certainly seen similar kitchens and, in fact, kitchen sinks to that one.
Yeah.
Don't even talk about my kitchen sink.
Probably in around 1987, actually, thinking about it.
Oh, don't worry. They're still going strong in 2024. Don't you worry.
Yeah. Washing up with matter and possibly live things in there.
Potentially. Yeah. That's so funny.
I also loved that we watched this for Pride Month.
Happy Pride! Actually, we need to go back and correct ourselves. In the Pride Month episode last week, we said that we had a really straight episode coming up next week. We lied.
We lied to you.
This movie's gay. Potentially gay derogatory, but gay.
I was going to say homophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly that element looking back on it. But so did you think this was a straight movie, or were you referring to some other movie when you said when you predicted?
We hadn't seen it.
Yes.
We had no idea
And we
what
were like,
to expect.
next week is Father's Day episode. It's going to be a straight episode. We just, I know, I was going with that.
Yeah.
We were wrong.
We were wrong.
It's not exactly, I don't know if it's homophobic, but it very certainly is homoerotic.
Oh, for sure. Colin
for
Farrell
sure.
was right when he said that this is his favorite film about a romantic relationship.
And he was talking about Withnail and I.
He was. Yeah. A duo.
Yeah. I love the relationship between them.
Me too.
I am, however, happy when And I went off to do his own thing because I was like, Withnail is holding you back.
Yeah,
100%.
He's not a good friend.
Immediately before he got the call that he had an audition, I was like, I'm worried about their careers. I don't think they're going to make it.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably worth mentioning at this point Paul McGann's performance as well, because he brings a certain
And I.
paranoid kind of nervousness to the whole thing.
Literally wrote that down.
Yeah.
Especially with these little, like, inner monologues.
Yeah, his inner monologues. He's borderline. He's bordering on desperation there.
For sure.
And who wouldn't be in that situation?
I agree.
Drinking lighter fluid, etc., etc.
Yeah. I'd have to end it all, personally.
No, the vacation, I would have left early, for sure. I would have not stayed.
I wouldn't have been there.
No.
No, I agree. Well, the director said that he had a really hard time... Because we also watched the documentary.
Which I haven't seen, so you've got an advantage.
A 25-minute documentary called Withnail and Us.
That was 12 years after the movie was made.
So I'm assuming that the cult following would have picked up between then, because there were definitely fans in the
They were big
documentary.
Big, yeah.
Joe and Adam or something.
I think that's correct.
I think that's them. But the director was saying that he had, in particular, a really hard time casting And I, which I found interesting, because I would have assumed that Withnail would be the harder character to cast. But, yeah. I guess that speaks to...
like...
What's his face? Peter?
The word Paul.
No,
The word paranoia is perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Can we talk about that?
Can we talk about his name?
I mean, I still don't quite understand what the whole drama is around his name.
There's widespread debate online, that his name is And I, because he's credited as And I, but they call him that other name.
Marwood
throughout the movie.
Well, they don't call him Marwood throughout the movie.
No, randomly. You'll, like, hear a one-off.
Yeah, and I think...
And then it's written down.
His name turns up written down at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But then online, there's something that is like, and it could be Peter.
I would love to know where that comes from.
Where's Peter from?
Yeah, all of that. Yes, I know.
Is his name, like... His full name?
Peter Marwood.
Peter Marwood And I?
I feel like the And I... a part of me is like the And I is like his sort of feeling of like subordination to Withnail. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think it's like a vibe of being like tacked onto the end of someone who's so like big and taking the wheel and like,
Yeah, and it also kind of implies that the whole movie's... Although you don't get this when you watch it, but it kind of implies that the whole movie's from his perspective, because it's And I.
Well, yeah, Richard E. Grant doesn't get inner monologues.
No.
That's true. It's his inner
framing.
monologue, so it's I that we're watching.
Yeah, and also
so
I think...
he's the audience surrogate.
Yeah, and also Withnail and I is a far better name title for a movie than Withnail and Marwood.
Withnail
and Peter.
Withnail and Marwood sounds a bit Sherlock Holmesian or something.
It does.
Yeah.
And Withnail and Peter sounds boring.
Yeah, I don't think I'd watch that.
Yeah.
I do think that, it's like the inner monologue that makes a lot more sense than any other thing. I don't know. Even whatever I read online did not make any sense.
No,
to me,
everything online was
honestly.
insane. They were like, you were like, don't worry, I've got an explanation. And then we read the explanation. It literally was like, some people call him And I, some people call him Marwood, some people call him Peter. That's not an explanation.
I haven't heard of the Peter thing before.
I know. I wonder. I don't think it's ever said. I feel like we listened for it.
We did.
And, like, could not
and someone
find...
outside your apartment on the street said Peter.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the closest we got.
I heard about that.
I did tell.
Somebody was driving in.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god. I thought it was the movie at first. Yeah, they're just outside.
They're like, it's Peter.
Yeah. No, I personally I feel like also And I's character is a lot more relatable than Withnail's character.
Well, for sure. Withnail's like larger than life.
Yes.
Not necessarily like a real person you would meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like viewing it from somebody that we can mostly relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need like a grounding straight man to.
Yeah, absolutely.
No pun intended.
Yeah, which
To
it
hold it together.
definitely needs. I mean, I've certainly met people who display elements of Withnail, but I would not say that in those moments, at least, those people are particularly relatable.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were playing a little like tag yourself yesterday. Alistair, tag yourself. Do you think you're Withnail or and I or anyone else in the film? Also, bad. What is happening?
I know. Somebody's dying outside.
Yeah, all right.
Save them.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yes.
Well, you've probably got to go for I guess, because, I mean, his reaction in a lot of the circumstances is quite relatable, and I completely understand why he would be feeling on the edge of desperation in that circumstance.
For sure.
His discomfort with Uncle Monty is very, again, relatable in the circumstances.
Hey, wait.
Well, in the circumstances...
Okay.
And look, I was saying this to Annabel last night. His discomfort would be the same if Uncle Monty was a female character.
Well,
I'm putting that out there.
Okay.
That's something to think about.
I knew that it wouldn't necessarily go that well, but anyway.
I think it could be. I mean, but like
Not
you're
in
right,
1987.
though. It's like in the sense of like Monty was coming on strong.
Yes, if someone unwanted is coming on to you.
That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, we may probably have all been in circumstances where somebody is making unwanted advances, and unless you're a complete bastard, you're going to be acting more like I than Withnail in those circumstances, and so you're trying to avoid
you're not going to throw
issue.
someone else under the bus.
You're nervous as hell. You just want them to go away. I mean, his response to all that in those circumstances, I think, is pretty understandable.
No, I agree with that.
And I'm interested though because this movie was made in the 80s and it's not necessarily like blatantly homophobic regarding the characters, because I feel like, I mean, they do say some things about like his character and being gay and stuff, but they don't really like ever are like, oh, it's wrong like to be gay, because he then uses
absolutely.
the excuse like, oh, we're in a relationship, like me and Withnail. So
honestly, that's probably progressive of them, for especially late 60s, if that's what it said.
Yeah.
But the portrayal, not by Richard Griffiths, but like in the writing of Monty as a gay character, is homophobic a bit.
Yes.
No,
yes.
I can certainly
For
see
sure.
that.
He's like a gay stereotype, and also like the stereotype of gay men not being able to control themselves around other men. Like, okay.
Yeah.
We were so worried that was going to happen. We're like, oh no, if he comes onto
we literally, we said that. And then also we were like, oh my God, if he comes onto his nephew.
I was so worried if he's like, I just can't get a man. It doesn't matter if he's my nephew.
Yeah. Thank God that did not happen.
Thank God.
Yeah, I mean...
Gay men have one boundary.
At the same time, there's a lot of pathos attached to Uncle Monty. I mean, he's a sad and he's a lonely character. And he knows his best years are well and truly behind him. He used to tread the boards. That part of his life is over. And so, I wouldn't say he's a pathetic character, but there's certainly pathos involved there.
Okay. Though last night you did say, and I quote, that Uncle Monty is the most sympathetic character in the film.
Almost.
And I said, he does try and sexually assault a man. And you said, but he's sad and lonely. Doesn't make it okay.
And he's very generous, too.
Too generous. I would argue, rein it in.
He's generous. He's lonely.
It's okay.
There's some sympathy to be had, but like everybody's human.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Ben.
People make mistakes. People break the law. It's okay.
Exactly.
It's okay.
I mean, he didn't break the law. He attempted to break the law.
He tried to. Yeah.
Yes. Or he would have broken the law.
He would have. I like that the only thing he was like, oh, I have to respect fidelity. I won't respect consent, but I will respect the fact that he's in a committed relationship.
He knows his boundaries.
Yeah, and good for him. Amen.
Yeah.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Oh. God.
That'd be great.
But I would love to ask Alistair, did you see this movie when it came out?
I saw it in 1987 at the movies.
Who'd you see it
Wow.
Good question. 1987.
with? Who was the Withnail to your and I?
Yeah. 87. So it's probably Katrina Sparks, I think.
I know Katrina Sparks.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Katrina Sparks.
If you're listening.
Science fiction author and photographer.
Yes.
I think it probably was. And, I mean, I found it I didn't find it so much out of the box because I knew that it was a handmade film. And so, handmade films being set up by George Harrison, funded by George Harrison from the Beatles, actually.
It was funded by George Harrison?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
That whole independent production house, because George Harrison was very good friends with the crew from Monty Python who were trying to make Life of Brian but didn't have enough money.
I thought a Monty Python movie was going to be one of your faves, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, they're
that.
flawed but funny. Anyway, so in order to help the Monty Python team out in making Life of Brian, George Harrison actually mortgaged his house and established this production company with a bloke called Dennis O'Brien. And through the 80s and 90s, actually handmade films were quite successful. They had Life of Brian, which was quite a big hit. Withnail and I was a cult hit. Mona Lisa was a very successful film in the early 90s, which launched Bob Hoskins' career. And they had a few hits, and I think kept going up until Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, which is Guy Ritchie in the early 2000s.
Oh, I know Guy Ritchie.
And then fell over at some point. So anyway, the point I was making was I knew that it was a handmade film, that there was some vague connection with Monty Python, and so I knew it would be something a little bit different.
So, okay, yeah, it wasn't a shock.
Yeah, but when I saw it at the time, I loved it. And I just...
Continue to.
I was captivated by Richard E. Grant's performance. It was like, who is this guy? And he's got elements of it. So many people I know, but he's smushed them all together into one barely believable whole. But he carries it off.
Absolutely. I also what a crazy first performance.
No, that's so reads for Richard E. Grant.
It really
does.
To
be his first performance.
I love that
movie.
Man.
He has done some of the best things ever, and
he's iconic.
He's more than capable to give the craziest performances, and that
absolutely
is reading for his first performance.
It's also so funny because he gives that kind of chaotic, insane, reckless vibe on screen a lot. But in real life, he seems so lovely.
In real life, he's absolutely charming.
He's like a little hippie.
Because I have met him, of course.
Would you like to talk about it?
Tell the story.
Tell the story.
Very fleetingly, I met him. Richard E. Grant was out in Australia.
Dickie, as you call him.
Dickie. Dickie and I like that. And he had a friend who was an Australian barrister, and so he was visiting a court out at Parramatta, where there was a major terrorist trial at the time. And I was at that trial fleetingly because I was working for the New South Wales Bar Association at the time.
Shout out.
Yeah, we were concerned about the enclosed docks which the government had introduced for terrorists for security reasons, which might as well have had a giant sign on them saying these people are guilty. But anyway, and so I was there with the president of the Bar Association, who went up to a barrister she knew. We started chatting. He said, "Oh, can I introduce my friend Richard?"
Crazy.
And
my friend Richard is crazy.
There's Richard E. Grant. I shook his hand, said, "Very pleased to meet you, Richard." And Richard was fascinated by the whole arrangements with the terrorists in the dock, and he pointed at them and he said, "So at the end of the day, do these people go back to the pokey?" Meaning prison.
I thought you meant the poker machines.
No, to the pokey, which is a very old-fashioned English word for prison. So he was absolutely charming in the kind of 1 or 2 minutes I had an interaction with him, and just what you would expect in a really nice way.
That's
unreal.
That's
Imagine
incredible.
your friend is like, "I'd like you to meet my friend Richard," and you turn around.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea. So, Richard E. Grant.
That's crazy.
I tried to act cool. He also has the same birthday as my sister Fiona.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Twins.
May 5th?
May the 3rd, I think. Oh, May's the 5th, in which case Fiona's got it wrong. I'm going to have to correct that.
Okay, I was going to say, well, Wikipedia could be wrong.
No, you're probably right, Ben.
For a second, I was like, How do you know her birthday? That's so weird. That's crazy. Yes. You little stalker. And then I realised that Richard E. Grant's birthday is probably publicly available.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And it appears my sister is wrong. So if you're watching this, Dodo, you better get your facts right.
But Richard E. Grant was born in
Swaziland, I think.
Yes, yeah. Swaziland. Which is just crazy in and of itself right there.
Yeah,
but
that's what his little book's about, right?
He's lived a crazy life. His book Withnail or something, Nail With or something.
He's got that one, and then he's got
Wawa. Which
the one that the film's about.
Yeah, it's about his childhood.
Yeah. And that's like about growing up in Swaziland, and then about his mum cheating on his dad with his dad's best friend. And he caught them in the car. And then told his dad.
Yeah, so it's a fairly typical British colonial upbringing, I think.
Classic. We've all experienced it.
He's lived a crazy life. I mean, his mother died last year.
I know, it was really sad.
And his wife died 3 years ago.
He's experienced loss, but then he's like endlessly optimistic. He is. He gives, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, he gives Drew Barrymore vibes on Instagram. He'll just post videos of himself outside being like, what a lovely day to breathe in the fresh air. Oh, I love the grass. It's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah. He's just like in love with the world.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah. He's so inspiring. I love the man.
Yeah, he's got quite the filmography. I was looking
insane.
it up. He's been in so much stuff. I mean, a lot of it, actually, to be frank, particularly shortly after Withnail, wasn't very good. Like How to Get Ahead in Advertising, for example, is a terrible movie. Where Richard E. Grant plays an advertising executive who grows another head on his head, which starts talking to him.
Okay, that sounds bomb, and that sounds like Man with Two Brains.
Yeah.
That's by the same guy that did Withnail and I.
It is?
It's written and directed by Bruce Robinson.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, okay.
And actually reminds me of a story, a John Lennon story from his book of short stories, I think in his own right, where somebody grows a small head on their head and starts talking to them. So that may have been where Robinson got the idea from, I'm not sure.
Also, and I kind of gave John Lennon at the beginning with his little glasses.
Yes, he had the granny glasses.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it all connects. It all makes sense.
Well, it was the 60s, I guess.
Yep.
That's true.
And that's all men could look like in the 60s.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say that Richard Grant's been in... Richard E. Grant has been in a lot of movies, some of which aren't that great, but probably in every one he's probably given a great performance. I don't know. He's very consistent.
I feel like he Michael Caine's it. And
he
just
does.
Kind of like yes-ands and says yes to everything, regardless of what
He's
it is.
been. That's the thing. He's been in some movies that I'm like, Richard E. Grant's in that.
Right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I love that about him. He'll just say yes to anything because he loves life.
I think that's truly what it is, yeah.
But, you know, in recent years, he's been in quite a few movies which are really good movies, and he's received some recognition for them. That one with Melissa McCarthy, where he was nominated for an Oscar.
Can you ever forgive me?
Yeah.
We love to text the movie poster of that.
Yeah, really good movie. His performance is fantastic in that. And of course, more recently in things like Saltburn. And The Lesson.
Yes, The Lesson. Yeah. He's really, I was going to say, he's getting his time is coming for him to get all of the awards.
He feels like really prolific at the moment. Yeah. EGOT. Give him an EGOT. Has he been on Broadway?
I don't know.
I don't know. West End, I'm sure.
I was going to say at least the West End.
I'm sure he's been on the stage at West End.
You should know. He's your friend.
Yeah, I should. But I might have to contact him and just double check.
Yeah. Hey, Dig.
He's been at the Theatre Royal in Sydney.
Stop it. What are you doing?
In My Fair Lady.
What year? Where was I?
2008.
Okay, I literally was here.
He was out here also a couple of years ago on a speaking tour where he was talking about the loss of his wife and
that's sad.
Life and life at the universe and everything.
Okay, I would have loved to see him in My Fair Lady at the Theatre Royale at 9 years old. So that's upsetting.
Right, so he was Henry Higgins, I guess.
I would have to assume.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume he's not Eliza Doolittle.
No, well, I was guessing that as well, but though Henry Higgins has a sidekick, doesn't he?
But you've got Richard E. Grant.
Yeah, unless he was playing Eliza Doolittle's father, the Stanley Holloway character.
Look, I don't know, but I just know I would have
Getting
wanted to be
married
in the room.
morning. No, I
Okay.
can't quite see that.
I don't want to see
Can't
that.
quite
He
see
played Henry Higgins.
There
I
we
don't
go.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
So it was
Big
the obvious
teacher,
answer.
yeah.
I don't know who that is in my family.
Rain in Spain, baby.
So,
yeah.
Okay. But also, he doesn't drink alcohol.
No,
Can we talk about
famously.
the making of this movie?
Mm.
Because I want the
That's all
director
news to me.
dad
So
a
off you
little.
go.
So he doesn't drink alcohol because he has an intolerance to it, where his
he's allergic.
he has no enzymes in his blood that allow him to metabolize it, so he gets violently ill
Yes.
if he drinks alcohol. So one, playing this character is very ironic, just alone because
Yes.
you can't do that. But apparently after being cast as Withnail, the director made him drink a bottle of champagne and half a bottle of vodka during one night so that he could experience what drunkenness felt like.
That's insane.
I would rather die.
I would rather die anyway. And
Yeah.
I can. My enzymes are fine with alcohol. We're chilling.
Yeah.
But to make Richard E. Grant do that when he literally has an intolerance is crazy, Bruce.
Yeah, it's horrible, and it's also completely unnecessary because he does such a good job as Withnail. He don't need no alcohol to play drunk.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Also,
I think
yeah.
he could do it. Yeah.
You were
Also
saying,
what?
You were saying yesterday, Father, that that you made a good point that Withnail, because he's like a pretty kind of well functioned. I mean, his life isn't great, but he's like functioning enough. He like gets up every day. He goes out. He's a
To the
Yeah.
pub.
sure, but
At
like
10 o'clock in
he's
the
an
morning.
alcoholic.
But still.
He's an alcoholic enough that he doesn't seem like obliterated drunk all the time.
No.
And he's not like messy, he's not vomiting, which is 100% what Richard E. Grant would have been doing because he's allergic to alcohol. So it would be a very different drunk experience. So I don't really know how well that would inform him playing this character.
Yeah, the only time that Withnail does throw up is after the lighter fluid, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love his technique. As soon as they get into a pub, any pub, it'll be order as much alcohol as you can straight away with chasers, knock them back, do it again until you run out of money or get kicked out of the venue.
Yeah.
Which is, it's an approach which I have seen in practice from other people and kind of admired, I must admit.
Oh, many admired in the documentary.
I was gonna say that. Yeah. Tell us about Adam and Joe.
Adam and Joe were like, oh, I was so disappointed to find out that Richard E. Grant doesn't drink in real life because he was my drinking icon. I was like, no, Adam and Joe, that's unhealthy. That's
I was like, that's crazy.
That's toxic, Adam and Joe. But good for them.
But I was gonna say, but obviously this movie speaks to so many people.
It does.
It's crazy. I can't believe I've never heard of it.
I know. I can't believe I've never heard of it, and it's your favorite movie for the week. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you
There's-
go.
You showed me Austin Powers.
Yeah, I did indeed.
We watched Lord of the Rings like every week.
Yeah, we did. I thought you liked it. But getting back to Withnail, you would never want Withnail as a friend. I mean,
I feel like I've
was
had Withnail.
Yeah, I was going to say he lets I down all the time, but he doesn't let him down because he's entirely consistent and it's entirely expected.
Yeah.
And so he sells him out at whenever he has to.
Yeah.
Withnail, and yeah, you wouldn't want that bloke as a friend.
Horrible friend.
Yeah.
Horrible
No,
friend.
the fact that literally
Oh my
to
God.
get to like stay in that cottage, he's like, my friend's gay and he's down. Is crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when he's questioned about it by, he said, "Oh, I just wasn't really thinking." Yes, he was.
Oh, he is. I literally was, as much as like I enjoyed seeing the like relationship between Withnail and I was also just like, get out of there. Ooh.
Yeah, I agree. And also,
irritating.
like, as much as I enjoy Withnail as a character from the perspective of an audience member, I would not want to have to deal with them in real life.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
Keep them behind a screen.
Keep them behind the screen.
Totally. And he's allegedly based on somebody that Bruce Robinson used to share a flat with in the 60s.
Yeah, they did talk about that in the documentary a little. They were like, everyone's based on... I think they showed a photo of the guy in the documentary.
Yes, they did. Because I was actually thinking, I was like, that feels like kind of an insult to the guy.
To that guy. Yeah.
If that's how you, like, see me, I'd be like, shit.
Oh my god, if someone made... If you made a movie... And my character was just like the worst person on earth who sold everyone out and was an alcoholic. I'd have to kill myself.
I got the impression they weren't friends anymore.
I would.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably not if that's how he really was in life. So.
Yeah, it's probably for the better. Maybe this movie is what did it. He went to the screening and he was like, Jesus.
He walked out. This is a big dramatic moment. That's a movie in and of itself.
I would love to watch.
Right
That's
there.
like a disaster. I would like to see a disaster artist of this movie if that was the case.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, I even said it reminds me of The Room a little bit. In terms of like, that's Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero. Like
Agreed.
those two men
100%.
are.
I so see it.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think the relationship is a bit better fleshed out in Withnail and I.
Yes.
But...
I disagree.
I totally agree.
I've never agreed less. So sorry.
But so this is one of your favorite movies. Do you want to tell us some of your other favorite movies so we can get a sense of who you are as a person?
Yeah, let the pod listeners know.
What were the other movies up for debate on what we might be discussing?
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, that's an interesting question. There'd be a few random ones. I mean, one random one is a 1970s adventure film called The Man Who Would Be King.
Never heard of it.
With Sean Connery and Michael Caine, based on, and Christopher Plummer as well, based on a Rudyard Kipling short story. It's about two British soldiers in India who have retired and decide to make their fortune by heading north up to probably what is Afghanistan now, where there would be very primitive tribes and they can be gods and kings up there. Well, they do that and it all goes horribly wrong. It's a terrific movie.
Why have I never heard of any of your favourite movies?
John Huston, I think. And Huston wanted to make the movie in the 1930s and wanted to cast Cary Grant and Jimmy Cagney as the two characters, which would have been a very different movie. But it's fantastic, and it's actually... it is a treatise on colonialism and, you know, the patronising approach that the Brits took, particularly in India and the British Raj and all that kind of stuff. It's a terrific movie. I can highly recommend it. And I mean, another one would be, you mentioned Austin Powers. I do find Austin Powers tremendously funny. Perhaps the first one is the funniest, I think.
Don't bring Goldmember
so
to
not the Gwyneth Paltrow one?
Gwyneth Paltrow's in Austin Powers?
Yeah, she's in Goldmember, you know, when they've got the alternative
yes.
Tom Cruise is Austin Powers.
No, you're so right. Yeah.
And Kevin Spacey, quite accurately, is Dr.
Oh,
Evil.
yeah.
Actually, that was like everyone's Letterboxd review. They were like, never have we seen more apt casting.
That's exactly right. But look, I'm a big fan of Quentin Tarantino. I would say Reservoir Dogs is a fantastic movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that Greek tragedy kind of element to it. Look, I could go on. I'm a big fan of the Marx Brothers as well. So I could start talking about Night at the Opera and all their films from the 1930s. But
you like the Coen Brothers?
I'm a big fan of the Coen Brothers. That's right.
Coen Brothers.
I love the way that they can switch between violent crime movies and screwball comedies.
And my least favorite, Macbeth.
Oh, yeah. Your least favourite.
Okay, but that was not both of them.
No, that was just one of them.
That's Joel, isn't it, I think?
Yeah,
Joel, yeah.
That's the one who didn't do Drive Away Dolls.
Oh, yeah, and Ethan
which
did
was
Drive
Ethan
Away
and
Dolls,
his
which
wife.
I still haven't seen. I'll watch that.
Yeah,
sure.
For sure.
But, you know, some things like Hail Caesar or even Hudsucker Proxy, where Tim Robbins invents the hula hoop, is a fantastic screwball comedy.
Donna Hayward met the Coen Brothers.
Yes, right.
Did she?
Yes.
At a party in New York in 2015 that her friend Matthew invited her to, and I wasn't allowed to come, so I stayed in the hotel room, and she met the Coen Brothers, and George Clooney showed up later that night after she left.
Wow.
Oh my god.
She was invited to the party because she's in love. She loves George Clooney.
I see.
And
that's crazy.
they would try to set them up, I guess.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pre-Amal.
Sure. And in terms of things which are much more recent, I really like Saltburn. I thought Saltburn was fantastic. I thought that was a great film with a great cast.
It's a great movie.
With Sabrina's boyfriend.
And Banshees of Inisherin as well.
Oh, yes.
Definitely love. Big fan of Brendan Gleeson.
I love Martin McDonagh.
Martin McDonagh, indeed. And of course, Colin Farrell.
It all comes back to Colin Farrell.
No wrong.
Yeah. Which in Sugar, his most recent detective show, which is on Apple TV over here, he's kind of the opposite of Richard E. Grant. He can drink as much alcohol as he wants and has no effect on him.
Yeah.
You find out later in the series why that is.
He doesn't have a liver.
No. Oh, well, actually, that could be right, actually. And because we're allowed to give spoilers, it's because he's an alien.
Well, you can give spoilers to the pod, but like, what if I wanted to watch it?
Yeah, well, too late.
That's fine.
It's very strange because it's this kind of hard-boiled LA detective, hard-boiled LA detective story where he's like an updated version of Philip Marlowe or some Raymond Chandler character, but he actually turns out to be an alien.
It's crazy.
Which is quite weird. But anyway, he can drink as much as he wants.
Good for him. Yeah. Power to him.
Yeah.
I love Colin Farrell.
Me too. I agree.
He accused of murder. Colin Farrell.
When?
Oh God! Long time ago. He was accused of murder.
Really?
Did he get off?
Because of like a description of the person
I did know this. Yeah, and he looked like that, but he had nothing to do with it.
But he had his like friend wrote in a journal about them going to a party, and then they were like, oh well, he was not there at the time. But yeah, he's accused. He got like pulled in and like questioned for murder because of it.
That's wild.
I know. I think about that all the time and how that could happen to me at any point in time.
No, literally, my biggest fear is being wrongly accused of a crime.
Yeah, that would be really bad. I have dreams about that.
Yeah, but then actually no one has that journal entry, and then I just end up in prison, and I'm somehow in a place where they have the death penalty, and I'm out.
I kid you not. When I was on the plane going back from Los Angeles 3 weeks ago, I was sitting in the plane thinking I should take a picture of me so that just in case something is happening, I can say I was on a plane. I have no idea why. No idea.
I bet someone with your literal face murdered a bunch of school children that day.
It could happen.
I could so see it.
I need to make a diary, I guess. I don't know.
I'm going to make a journal entry saying, I saw him do it.
Yeah. And actually, talking about planes, it reminds me of another couple of movies which I like. One is Dr. Strangelove, which I think is one of the...
I thought you were going to say Dr. Strange.
Well, Dr. Strange I don't mind either, but Dr. Strangelove is one of the classic commentaries on the Cold War. Of course, devastatingly funny, Stanley Kubrick, so what more do we need to say? And also Flying High, or Airplane, as it's known in the United States.
Yes,
Catch a Leslie Nielsen.
That's a Donna Hayward fave as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Or Flying High
I was
family.
so against watching Airplane growing up because my dad really likes it.
I did know that Keithy was a fan.
And so I would always be like, I'm never, ever going to watch Airplane and I'm not going to enjoy it. But it's actually so funny.
It's tremendously silly.
Well, we always quote it. Jim never has a second copy at home. We say every day. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah, plus I love Julie Haggerty.
Icon.
Oh, yeah, she's...
Icon, legend, star.
It's truly, yes. But those are some good movies. Honestly, I feel like they read. That makes sense.
They encapsulate you.
They do. I think so.
I agree. And I've seen some of them, so I'll allow it.
You've heard of them.
Yeah, some of them. That's right. I'm yet to introduce you to the Marx Brothers or Dr. Strangelove, but...
I've seen Dr. Strangelove independently.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, good.
It's a classic. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But as we have mentioned, and the whole reason is it is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
I haven't received a present during the course of this podcast so far, but I'm still hopeful.
Good things come to this is the gift. a guest spot on 6 next Tuesday. Are you kidding? They're highly sought after.
Yeah, well, similar to my graduation present to you, which was me.
Exactly. There we go.
You are the gift. Yes. So we're balancing the scales right now.
Exactly.
But since it is Father's Day, I'm going to start with Annabel.
Oh.
Annabel, what is your favorite part of Alistair being your father?
I don't want to go first. I was expecting you to go
first.
first.
You go first. Excellent.
It's a good question. I don't want to like copy my daughter answer, but I really feel like it's similar in that like growing up, I feel like we could just like obviously, you know, father-daughter relationship, but also it was very like chill. We were always just like hanging out. I kind of felt like we were friends growing up, and I agree, and that's like translated into adulthood. It was like I never felt like you were like a crazy authoritarian. Or anything like that.
That was the vibe I was trying to give.
Well, I'm so sorry, you might have missed the mark. I didn't mean to critique your parenting.
Back to the drawing board.
He'll have to start now.
And I also...
That's the end of this podcast. That's it.
And even though I like to make fun of you for it and not follow your band on Facebook, I did always think it was like, I used to like always tell my friends, I was like, it's so cool, he's a lawyer and he's in a band. I was like, he does it all. That's crazy. So that was cool. Yeah.
And same to you, Alistair. What is your favorite part of raising Annabel?
Sure, I'm going to have to grab a prop, so just excuse me for a second.
Oh! Oh no!
You hung up on Ben.
No, I'm back.
What was that?
Right. So, when Annabel was a child, she used to, at school, make me Father's Day presents. And they were all very individual. And the one thing they had in common was the entire lack of craftsmanship. So, for example, this is a coaster, believe it or not. And how would you describe that?
I literally could not tell you what that is.
It does.
It says Happy Father's Day
Happy
at the top.
Father's
That was
Day.
definitely written by a teacher.
And Annie down the bottom. Again, definitely written by a teacher, but it's some kind of glutinous mass.
It
stuck
looks
onto
kind
a
of
coaster.
like an
Bacteria?
igneous rock. Bacteria.
Yeah, it's very bacterial.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's giving science.
Yeah. So as Annabel grew up, when she was small, I would be gifted with things like this, which always very much impressed me because they're fantastic, and I couldn't imagine anybody else in the world coming up with something like this.
Thank you so much.
But look, apart from that, yes, I completely agree with Annabel that we do have a very laid back and chill relationship. I can only remember us ever having about 2 or 3 serious arguments. One was when Annabel was 2 and lay down on the floor of a shopping mall, screaming, refusing to move, and I literally had to drag her across the floor for some period of time while she screamed, while there were many other parents looking very accusingly at me.
I still do that now.
Yeah,
Wait, why at 2? What was she so upset about?
Yeah,
I cannot remember.
Why did I not want to leave?
That's right, but I mean...
Maybe I was protesting.
In Annabel's childhood, that's the only time I can remember her behaving appallingly, which is pretty good.
I remember one time I refused to change my undies, don't know why, and you threatened to call the police.
Did I? Well, that's...
But I was like 6.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh my god, the police
Did
are
it work?
coming.
I was gonna say,
Yes.
It worked. It
No, I
worked.
changed them.
Because I knew that Annabel hated getting in trouble, right? Because I'm the same.
The
Yeah.
authority.
In fact,
She was scared of
we
it.
all are. We all are. And so it's like, I'm going to call the police. I know that's going to work, and it did.
Yeah.
And I also
And they
remember,
came.
I remember Annabel making me cry in 2022.
2020.
2020, I'm sorry, 2020, after she'd lost her passport and donated for it. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, only
I think it was a joint effort.
Yeah, maybe. Only 2 or 3 episodes can I think of where we've actually had any kind of conflict. So it's been all very laid back. And what I love about Annabel is that, one of the many things I love about Annabel is the way that she's always pursued her own direction. Some people may regard that as being stubborn. I wouldn't. From
maybe it's both.
From a very young age, and Annabel always knew what she wanted to do and pursued it, and with not anybody who said, oh, it might be unrealistic to be an actor, or it might be unrealistic to concentrate on musical theatre, and he was not prepared to listen to them because that's what you wanted to do. And I do love that very single-mindedness, and you've got a very strong work ethic, which I don't know where you get that from, must be from your mother, I guess. And you're a lovely person who has wonderful friends, including you, Ben, and I'm very excited to see what the next step is going to be.
Aww,
me too.
That's right, darling.
Oh, that's so sweet. See, you can actually give your parent a hug this time because
exactly, yeah, it's not through a screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. And you know what? It's a good thing to be stubborn, I think.
I think so too.
Thank you.
Personally, I think that's a good trait to have. I'm also so stubborn.
Oh, I know.
But no,
so
I
nice.
love
Thank
that.
you so
Oh,
much.
that's right, darling.
I was gonna say I love this. I love that we're doing parents because
It's so fun.
it's so fun, and I love getting to now see movies that I've never heard of, and I know I would have never watched if I had not been
So
directed
true.
to.
Yeah.
This would have never ever happened.
Never would have crossed my mind. I'm so glad that Diane introduced me to Yentl. So
Wait,
glad
has
that
Alistair,
took
have you seen Yentl?
I haven't seen Yentl. I did see the podcast with your mum, and it kind of made me want to watch it because there seems to be a lot of subtext going on.
a lot of homosexual
Crazy
subtext.
subtext.
Speaking of pride,
I know we did that one a little too early.
Gay movies.
No. Do you have any last thoughts on Withnail and I or anything?
Look, I mean, I find it interesting, although completely understandable that you guys had never heard of it before. But to my generation, at least in Australia, and I'm sure in the UK as well, it is quite an iconic cult movie that everybody around my age would absolutely know about, even if they hadn't seen it. I think it's it's kind of interesting that it came out of the Handmaid's Stable, where they had Monty Python, they had things like Time Bandits and so on, which are all kind of silly movies, though British comedies nevertheless. This is a British comedy, but it's also a tragicomedy, as I said at the outset, and has has hidden depths to it. Well, maybe not hidden depths, but certainly got depths to it. And of course, as we said, Richard E. Grant's performance is great. So it's a movie which will always stay with me and which will always be one of my favourite films.
I love that. I will also probably carry this with me and suggest it to some people throughout my life. That's for sure.
I agree. Oh wait, you know what? What would you give it out of 10?
Yes.
Sasha?
What would I?
Yes.
Look, on the basis that I wouldn't give any movie 10, pretty much.
That's so Diane coded.
I'm gonna say 9.5.
All right.
Okay.
Pretty high.
Okay, you defied Letterboxd.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there would be a number of movies that I would give 9.5. This is certainly one.
So basically 10. We're going to call
Yeah. It's Alistair's 10.
Yeah.
a 10 without giving it a 10.
9.5.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're saying you wouldn't
Okay.
give IKEA Heights 10?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
That's not a movie.
Hey.
That's an experience more than just a movie.
You're right.
That's
You're
so
right.
true.
So true.
It's
Link Blur.
immersive.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
I'll give it a 10 when I'm in it.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Next installment.
Australia's calling, Ben.
Yeah.
I
come on
know
over.
it is. I was looking at flights the other day.
I was like, you changed your profile picture to the Opera House.
I did, but that's just because I needed to change my profile picture.
Also, it's a bomb photo and I took it.
Oh my gosh. But no, I mean, I think we've covered all of our bases here.
What did you give it out of 10, Ben?
I give it a 9 out of 10. I loved it.
Originally gave it an 8, and then upon my rewatch last night, gave it a 9.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I need to rewatch it even just to.
A rewatch like kills.
It does stand up.
I'd recommend it in under 24 hours personally.
I don't have much time. I got to do it like now.
Right now. Jump on.
But no, I definitely need to rewatch it as well. But I was gonna say this is so funny because Annabelle's camera ran out, and I was about to like lead us out into the outro.
Oh, we're back at that.
I had none of that.
I was gonna say I found it really funny that Annabelle's camera ran out because I was about to like lead us into an outro.
I could feel it. That's why I was like, I need to turn it back on to say goodbye.
Damn.
They need to see us wave.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Alice.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
I'll look forward to the next one in September.
I was gonna say, I'll say it again in a few months.
Coming up. Yeah, don't you worry. Round the corner.
But
so can I start off the sign off?
Of course you can.
Absolutely.
We're there. We're ready.
I feel we're ready.
Take us away.
Take us away.
Okay. Sick.
See you next
Tuesday. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.
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 Maybe I'll edit a 10.
You can move back.
Edit a 10. I'll have to Google how to do it.